Hello, welcome back to The Reading Mama. My name is Heather, and today I'm going to be sharing my January wrap-up. January was a crazy month, and I read 28 books. I don't know. Maybe I'm just disassociating on a high level. I don't know what happened. It's a lot of audiobooks. We're not going to touch on every one of them, but I will go through as quickly as I can, sharing as much as I feel you need to know, because some of them you probably already know about and I don't need to talk about. So I will be sharing my January reading journal and how I'm doing with my reading journal. I think it's going well. Some things I like, didn't like. That's a whole nother video, but we're going to go through those. So for nonfiction, I read 2 nonfiction books. Let's be honest, I finished 2 nonfiction books. And I actually have those. Hang on. So my nonfiction books I had to go grab because they're sitting with my commonplace book waiting to be commonplace. I don't know, do you commonplace as you read? Like, do you stop and write down the quotes? Or do you do it afterwards? Because I do it afterwards and then I have like a pile up of all the things I want to write because there's a lot. These were some great books. So For the Family's Sake by Susan Schaefer Macaulay, I started it in the summer and just now finished it. It had a strong start and then a slow finish, in my opinion. Probably because I have read Susan Schaefer Macaulay's other book, For the Children's Sake, and her mother's book, the Edith Schaefer's Hidden Art of Homemaking, and I feel like the last half really kind of reiterated a lot of those concepts, so it didn't feel like a lot of new things in that regard. But yeah, For the Family's Sake, it's the values of home in everyone's life, and it's just really emphasizing the importance of home for everyone, whether you're single, married, have kids, don't have kids, grandparent, whatever. Setting up a home and having a place where people can come and rest and find peace, and opening it up to others, and just nurturing a place of purpose, of love, of rest, is really what the heart of all this is. And there's a lot of different concepts that go into it. Some really great takeaways. And then she gets into some practical things as well. I really love it. I love Susan Schaefer Macaulay. I feel like she's very encouraging in her writing. But like I said, because I've read some of the other books by her and her mother, which are phenomenal, I feel like some of it was a little bit of reiteration in that regard. Then I also read Overwhelmed Mom, which I started in September because I got it for my birthday. That's because nothing against this book. This one I read slower just because it's a nonfiction book. I read nonfiction books slower. This book I read slower because it was my take everywhere with me, and it was stuck in the diaper bag. And then I could never read when I went everywhere because I have a baby and she needs my hands and she tears up my books. And so yeah, it kind of got lost and forgotten for a while. But I did finish it. If you haven't read anything by Jamie Erickson, I highly recommend it. I love all of her books. Holy Huga, Homeschool Bravely have been phenomenal and pivotal in my life, just really encouraging me to live a way that honors God in our home, opening it up to others. This one, though, is really good. I always struggle with books that are for motherhood when they get to the friendship topic. That's a whole nother issue. But I really did love this book. What did that say? I don't know. I have a lot in here. There's some practical things at the end of each chapter. Whereas this one is just really a lot of encouragement about the home, about motherhood, womanhood, and reaching out to others, and all of that. This one is more focused on mom and finding times to, slow down and like she said, mind your own business and work with your hands. Like, that was kind of the catchphrase. Like, focus on what's in front of you. Don't be trying to get all the other things done. Do the task that's at hand. Do the next thing, as Elizabeth Elliot is famous of saying. And so there is a lot of really good. I'll read you the last quote that I kind of highlighted for myself, and it was, "The reality is God's plans will be accomplished with or without you. In that way, you are insignificant but important. He doesn't need you in the work of raising children, keeping home, and serving in the public square. But in his love, he chooses to use you." And that's really the heart of it, is finding those ways that amidst all the other things going on in life, realizing and inviting God into it and saying, okay, God, I'm yours. Show me what you want me to do. And so those were really good, top-hitting nonfiction books for this month. I'll probably not have that for the next month just because those were... But yeah, my goal of finishing 1 nonfiction book a month, I got it. There we go. Got 2 done. And then I also started reading a classic, and I do have the book. It's on my daughter's school shelf. But I listened to the audio version. This was a reread, and I reread Jane Eyre. And in my mind, I thought Jane Eyre was Wuthering Heights. So now I'm wondering, do I even remember reading Wuthering Heights? But I digress. Jane Eyre, wonderful classic coming of age story, very beautiful. I'm loving hearing my high schoolers' interpretation of things. She goes through it very slowly. I read it in a month or like a day or two. And she, has some interesting insights. So if you don't know, Jane Eyre follows the story, which I obviously forgot, of a young girl who is an orphan and brought up by family who doesn't love her. Sound like a lot of other stories, right? And she gets sent to a boarding school, becomes a governess, comes to work for a house. Very strange kind of situation going on there. Then there's a huge plot twist in the middle, right when you're like, okay, wait, why is this happening now? There's still half a book left, and then plot twist happens, and then it just goes off the rails, and it comes back full circle. Very good classic. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Love it. It kept me going. I really enjoyed that book. As far as a Gothic novel goes, it was wonderful. Next, and I could have grabbed this book too, but my kids are reading it. I read a phenomenal middle grade book. So I read two that take place in Vietnam. My kids are getting ready to study Vietnam and Vietnam War, and so I've been looking at books for them to read. These are not about the war specifically. These are written by people who lived in Vietnam. So I have The Cricket War by Pho Pham and Sandra McTavish, and that is based on his true life, but it kind of mixes stories of his wife and his family, other family that came, kind of tells their story. And it tells about escaping Vietnam by boat and life in refugee camp. And it is written at a very middle grade level, very easy for kids. It's not too graphic, not too violent, but it does have some intense moments because it is what it is. And as you follow them going on this escape, you get a little bit of what life was like in Vietnam for them, then you get what life was like as boat people, then life in refugee, and then coming finally to Canada and all of that. And then it has a good end note. I do appreciate it has a map, it has a pronunciation key, which is very helpful, and then it just goes through kind of diary style, not diary style, but it has dates, so you go through time, follow about a year and a half of this boy's life, and very interesting, great middle grade read. Like I said, not too intense. I highly recommend. I think I'm going to have my 5th grader read this. It's probably a little bit lower than her reading level because she's an advanced reader, but I think 3rd through 5th grade is perfect for this. Then I read Water Buffalo Days by, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm not good at Vietnamese pronunciations. I'm not good at it. Huong Quang Nguyen. Anyways, he has this book, and then I have another one from the library. They're very similar, and it tells about life growing up in Vietnam in a rural town, and it's very, like, I would put this as like nature lore almost, because you learn so much about what the land was like, you learn about so much what the animals are like, and then what life is like in general. So I'm going to have my 2nd grader read this because I think it'll give her a good kind of point of reference. And there's another one, and I don't think I have it with me. Yes, Land I Lost, Adventures of a Boy in Vietnam, which tells some of the same stories, and then it has a few more, but it's by the same author, and it's a similar style, just a little bit higher age level. I feel like this is very good 2nd to 4th grade. It's got big print. It's got pictures every so often. And so I think this is going to be perfect for my 2nd grader. Really, really enjoyed it. It was fun. There's some funny things that happen. There's a few intense things. It doesn't mention the war until the very last chapter, and it's just very briefly, and I'll just tell you, spoiler, because his water buffalo gets shot, and that's the extent of what it talks about. And it's not like they come in and shoot, it's they're escaping and he gets hit by a grazed by a bullet. So those were wonderful. Then I read Brother's Keeper, and I'll try to pop a picture up here, by, I think it's Julie Lee, maybe? But Brother's Keeper, let me see here, yeah, Julie Lee, tells the story of a family escaping from North Korea to South Korea during the war. And it is heartbreaking, it is tragic, it is beautifully written. Just the emotional things. There is some really hard family dynamics, especially with the mother and daughter. My kids really, the kids who have read it have been like, oh, why would a mom be like that? And I'm so grateful that that is not something my kids have experienced. I haven't experienced, but it is a fact of life, and it is a very harsh, some harsh things happen. It is very, very, very hard book. I was bawling. My 13-year-old said it was she loved it, but it was heartbreaking. And my 10-year-old is currently reading it and loves it as well. But you follow, and I can't think of what her name is, but they are going, like, the family is trying to go from north to south. They get separated, and so this girl is taking her brother, with whom she's kind of begrudged a lot because the family, favored the son, and she has to end up carrying him most of the way on their escape south, and they're trying to get to the coast, and yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of concepts talked about in there. There's a lot of graphic explanations of what is happening in the war, of what they see along the way. So if you have a sensitive reader, I would very much caution it. This is definitely going to be upper elementary. If you have a very advanced reader who can handle that kind of content, otherwise I would save it for middle school. All right, going on to YA. So YA, I read several books. Go figure, I'm a big YA person. So starting out, I did finish my reread of Sunrise on the Reaping. I read this last March when it came out, and then I went through the whole series and reread it again. Because obviously I'd forgotten some things that happened in the originals and in Songbirds and Ballads, and it's like heartbreak. Like, my husband's like, what are you reading? And I was like, oh, it's Sunrise on the Reaping. He's like, how is it? I was like, it destroys you on every chapter. And he's like, why are you reading it? I'm like, because it's so good. If you haven't read it, go read it, because yeah, it is the best out of all of them. But it will kind of destroy you on every page, and it's so beautiful and heartbreaking, and you just want to hug Hamish. So that's what went on with that one. Then I read part of Chantel's Indie Book Club Challenge, Between the Shadows by Grace Pringle. This is the first book in a series, which, I don't do well with book series that are not finished, because I want to binge them all. She has a nice little rating on the back. It says PG. This is YA fantasy, and I liked it. I liked the overall story. I liked the characters. There were some parts where it felt like it lagged. Like, there's some journals in there, and I love a good journal entry, but some of them was like, okay, this is a little much. Okay, could we shorten this? I don't know. Kind of dragged on a few things, but overall, I loved it. Will I continue the series? Yeah, definitely. You're following. It's funny because you're following a character who's not even really. Like, she just kind of tagged along, really, and you think about it. Oh, what is her name? Why can I not think of it? So it's a weird name. No, not that one. I promise I know her name. So there's Solnia. So Solnia, and she lives in a town, and they are ruled by, like, evil queen, and kind of an evil royal family. And they talk a lot about this, but it doesn't seem to really affect her that much. They don't live there. The royal family's in another town. Anyway, she meets a young man named Ro, who's very strange. And he has some different things. And basically, they go on this big journey together, not intentionally at first. And they're basically trying to uncover a lot of mysteries and dark histories that are going on in this world. There's some heartbreak. You would say it's romance because they definitely have some feelings. There's some yearning and whatnot, but it is not at all. It's PG. It's very PG. And so, yeah, they're going on this journey. Ro, we end up discovering, has some very unique qualities about him and a very unique history. Solnia is just kind of along for the ride and discovering all these things along the way, and kind of has been roped into this much bigger than life thing, as one does. So I enjoyed that. I also listened to and read, because I had the book from the library, Heartless by Marissa Meyer, which is a villain or origin story for the Queen of Hearts. Alice in Wonderland has never been one of my favorites, so there was that aspect to it. But did I enjoy it? Yes. Marissa Meyer has some great. She's the queen of cliffhanger chapters that make you want to keep reading. But it's the characters I love. You kind of know where it's going to go, and yet you're still heartbroken when it happens. The end felt a little kind of like rushed and discombobulated, and there's some parts that are just a little bit like, I don't know. It's hard. I have a hard time when I know it's a villain story and the villain is the main character, and I'm like, I want to root for you, but I know that the rug's going to get pulled out from under me. So yeah, that was that. Heartless. It was a wonderful audiobook. Rebecca Soler does an amazing job. She does all of Marissa Meyer's books. Would I recommend it? I don't know. There's a couple of parts that are a little intense. It was okay. And then I finished the Caraval series with finale. Really, I kind of like finished it because I didn't love it. I read Once Upon a Broken Heart first, and I think that's why I kind of ruined the Caraval. I liked Caraval because I like Scarlet, and then we switched over to Donatella, which is her sister, and I just didn't love Donatella's story. I was never rooting for Donatella, so it was really hard to keep reading. But if you don't know anything about Caraval, it's and it is not as PG as some people would have you to believe. So the Caraval series is basically you have these two sisters who are trying to escape an abusive father, and they end up going to this magical game where they take over an entire city, basically. And in the first one, a lot of things happen. There's just a lot, and I don't know how to explain the last one. But anyways, the first book follows the sister Scarlet, and then you switch over to Donatella, who is kind of like the naughty bad girl, and she likes the dark brooding guy, and it's just, I don't know. It was a lot of darkness, a lot of weird mythology stuff going on. It was one of those that I was like trying to figure out where it was going to end, and I didn't love where it ended. I mean, it was okay. But I did not love Donatella's story. I didn't love her love interest. I didn't love the magic and the use of mythology, the way it was used. This headband just does not fit. It just, finale and the Caraval series was not my thing. Once Upon a Broken Heart, I loved. But that one, no, not so much. Another YA that I read was a fairy tale retelling by Kate Stradling. So if you're going to do February with Taylor, then I would check this out. It is a short novella. It is a retelling of Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid. So you might want to read Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid. It's like a page, too. I don't know, short, to help you kind of understand. But I absolutely love this. I am loving Kate Stradling. I'm going back. I read one of her more recent books a few years ago, and I talked about in one of my other videos. Absolutely loved The Air and the Spare. So I'm like, well, let's go back and read some of her other books because, yeah. And I am fully onto this fairy tale retelling train now all of a sudden. Anyways, you follow Magdalena. Yeah, Magdalena. And she is an empath. So she has empath magic. So there's like healers who can heal with magic, and then there's like empath healing. Like she can feel their pain, and so then she can treat it that way. And that's what she is. But long story short, she was also like part of a Duke's family. So she, is royalty, but she got sent off to this seminary where she basically has to learn how to be a healer and all these things. Then all these things have happened. She grew up with a prince who is desperately looking for a wife, per his parents' orders, and he ends up going missing. She's heartbroken. That's how the story opens. She's heartbroken because they think he was lost at sea, and he washes ashore and she finds him. Then all kinds of things happen, and it is very short. The Little Mermaid aspect is not really what you think. It is not the Disney, and she even has a thing at the front, like, if you're picturing a red-haired girl singing the songs, this is not the story for you. But I really, really loved. It's called Brian and Bone, and so I'm excited to read some more retellings from Kate Stradling because this was really phenomenal. I read it in a day, super short, highly recommend. Then some that I do not recommend that I did listen to. Spark of the Everflame series, way too spicy. Oh my lands, no. Too graphic, yeah, I'm not even going to go into it. Renegades by Marissa Meyer, also, yeah, it was There was a lot of concepts that I, as a Christian, did not agree with. Renegades, I could deal with more. But, and you definitely don't have the spice aspect of it. But it was just not great. And I read the whole series really hoping it would redeem itself, because this was my second attempt at it. And yeah, it did not redeem itself. The ending was horrible, in my opinion. Very rushed, felt like a lot of things were lacking for such a big book and for so much going on. It really felt like it was lacking in the end. And then, because apparently I did not, you would think after 4 books by Marissa Meyer where you're like, yeah, they were good, but I didn't love them. You'd think, okay, you're done. You're just going to take a Marissa Meyer break. No, I'm in for the long haul. So I listened to Gilded and Cursed by Marissa Meyer and read by Rebecca Soler. And great reader. Love it. Story is actually very interesting. Creepy and dark as all get out. It is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and it's a duology. And so dark. So dark. Really weird. There was like a fade to black moment, and I was not expecting. That was a little spicier than I was expecting in a Marissa Meyer book. So much violence. I don't even know where else to say. There's like evil spirits and demons and evil creatures, and I really probably should have stopped a long time ago, because yeah, this is not the book for me, not one I would recommend. But I kept hoping, you keep thinking that light is going to triumph, and light triumphs, kinda. I mean, yeah, it was an interesting take on the story. Rumpelstiltskin's not one of my favorite fairy tales, but yeah, it was just really dark. It was graphic. It was one of those that you just keep, you have hope and think it's going to get better, and it doesn't. So yeah, let's get into books that are meant for adults, okay? So I listened to Exit Strategy, which really, if they could just take out the swear words, the book would be great. And this one had more swearing than any of the others. I do this on their novellas. It's a sci-fi robot. Yeah. We watch a movie. And so, Exit Strategy follows like a cyborg named that he self-named himself Murderbot, and because he had his memory wiped, and all he knows is that at some point he like murdered a whole bunch of people in some mining village, and he's trying to figure out why did he do that, why did he malfunction in that way. And that's what the series is following. And along the way he keeps taking these security jobs, and he basically has always kept himself separate from humanity, but he has manipulated his governing system so that he has free thought, free will, all of these things, and he's trying to hide that from a lot of people. Sometimes he pretends to be a human, sometimes he tries to pretend to be the security unit, and he's really coming around to his understanding throughout it. I really enjoyed it otherwise, because there's a real focus on accepting others, watching out and caring for others, and like he doesn't understand, like, why am I doing these things to help them, because they're just humans, and I'm not being, this isn't my job, why am I doing it? But he really starts to embrace his humanity through it, which he is part human. Anyway, there's a whole thing about that, but I really enjoyed it. I really wish they could just take out some of the swears, because it doesn't add to the story, people. Authors, swearing does not add to your story. It doesn't. So yeah. Then I listened to The Princess Bride, and I have never read that. I actually think I've only seen the movie all the way through once, and I'm pretty sure I fell asleep during it. So I've seen all the movie, but never as a whole. Anyways, so I listened to the book. It was on TV the other night, and we saw the last half. I was like, oh, why don't I read the book? Hilarious. I have never laughed so much. It's like a 3-hour audiobook, so on double speed it's an hour and a half. So it was like while I was making dinner and bread one day. I should watch movie. Yes. And so absolutely loved Princess Bride. Follows the same as the movie. It's even better though. And so in Princess Bride, if you don't know, you have a young girl and you have a stable boy, and yeah, there's a love interest, but he wants to go make his fortune. He becomes a pirate. She thinks he's dead. He comes back and she's like gonna marry somebody. They come back together. And there's all these funny characters along the way. My audiobook reader said it was Rob Reiner. I don't know if that's like the Rob Reiner. I'm assuming so. And he kept saying indigo instead of indigo like they do in the movie. And so I was like, ooh. But it was very good, very funny. Then I also finished the Royal Rose Legacy, and I did this as ebook by Victoria McCombs, and I absolutely loved it. So Silver Bounty and Savage Bread continues the story of a young girl who has a debilitating disease and is going off with her friend who is a pirate to help him because her mother is like the most fearsome pirate, so she knows all the pirate skills even though she doesn't want to be a pirate. So she goes off with her friend to try to find the cure for it and to help him along the way because he's looking for a treasure, and that happens to be where the cure for her disease is. Silver Bounty picks up the story of that, and there are so many twists and turns. It is so much fun. There's a lot of hilarious things. There is a romance, but it is very slow burn and will they, won't they thing. Everybody gets separated, then they come back together. I mean, there are just so many things that go on in this. It was phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. And like I said, it's PG. I would give it to my kids, to my teenagers to read. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's necessarily meant for teenagers. Maybe it is. I mean, yeah, it probably is. But I really did enjoy it. And so, yeah, lots of plot twists. There were some magical elements in it, but I don't feel like the magic was the main part of the story. It's just pirate fun. If you can imagine. It was good. So I highly recommend that. Then I read A Crown of Chains by Erin Phillips, who is one of my new favorite authors. I think I read this so quick. Absolutely loved it. So I went into it thinking, okay, it's an Esther retelling. This is going to be great. I'll read it for my biblical fantasy for, what's her name? Alma's book journey. No. I mean, it is an Esther retelling, but this is not a biblical set thing. This is a dark fantasy. It is phenomenal. It's phenomenal, but it is not. It retells the story of Esther from the Bible, but it is not the Bible story. Okay, this is graphic. It is harsh. It is dark. It is fantasy. There's magic. It is so good. And so when I first started, I was like, oh no, this isn't what I got into. And then it was like, ooh, this is phenomenal. I'm just going to take this headband off because it is just driving me crazy. But you follow Roxana, and just like the story of Queen Esther, they're in a kingdom. The king has displaced his wife, and is rounding up young women. But this takes the point of view, and it's very graphic about some of these things, especially in the beginning, about how what the king was asking her to do because his men were telling him to do it, and how it was wicked. And that was a little violent. I would not for teenagers. And then the fact that they were rounded up and then were basically concubines who were going to be forced to be with the king prior to him choosing to marry them. So there's that concept, which is very intense. And then how she was treated with her one night with the king, and then everything that happens afterwards. Very intense, super heartbreaking, ends really well, but it doesn't end in like a fairy tale perfect ending. Just so you know, like this is not, yeah, it's intense. And it is beautiful, beautifully written, beautiful story, beautiful everything. But this is not a biblical retelling as in set in Bible times and whatnot. And this is not a biblical, and this is not a fairy tale one where in the end everybody's happy and all is right in the world. And I mean, it's good. It ends well, but this is not just anything that you think it's going to be. That's not what it is. So, but I highly recommend it. Go check it out. There are fairies in it, which was weird at first. And there are some magical elements and magical creatures like griffins and things like that. But I feel like that wasn't even a big part of it. So I'm hoping to read more of Erin Phillips. And they are just, because she is a phenomenal author, I immediately needed to buy. And I think I did. I bought all of her books that are out right now. And she has another one coming out in April because they were that good. And then I read for a biblical romance for Alma's, what you call it? Oh, by the way, this was what I used for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelves challenge because it needed to have an article in the title. So a crown. We could have used several of those books. But then for Alma's book challenge, which was her Journey Through Time, historical fiction, and you were supposed to pick a book one. So I tried The Hidden Prince by Tessa Afshar. I have not had a lot of success with biblical retellings, but that one was amazing. I absolutely loved it, and again had to buy several of her books because this was not the Christian author that I've had in days past. This was true, really great writing. Follows the story set during Daniel's time of someone who is working for Daniel, but then things happen and she has to leave. She ends up training a young boy named Cyrus, realizes, hey, is this the one from the prophecy in back in of the Old Testament? And so it follows just so many great things. It is a love story, but I feel like it is just done so beautifully, so well, that I immediately want to read all of Tessa's books because it was that phenomenal. And then I read another book, and I have to keep looking up the title because I keep forgetting how it's said. All Manner of Things by Susie Finkbeiner. I read yesterday. Actually, I read it in 2 days. Audiobook, and I read the book with it, but it is, wow, it was phenomenal. It is set during the Vietnam War, and I'm using it for part of my perfect pairings with those books from earlier, and then this is my adult version, and which is my challenge if you want to go check that out. It's pairing either a nonfiction with a fiction of the same topic, or taking a, like in this case, a historical fiction for adults and a historical fiction for kids. And All Manner of Things follows a young girl in a town in Michigan, and it's set during the Vietnam War. Her brother goes off. Her father has PTSD from Korean War, and their family is all kinds of messed up, and it is just so phenomenally beautiful. And I'm not going to tell you anything else about it because it is just amazing. Chantel was right. Take my word for it. Go read it. All Manner of Things by Susie Finkbeiner. Amazing. And then I finished this last night. I finished Hero of the Ages, and I'm destroyed. I can't process. I can't process. It was like a month of books that just destroyed me because All Manner of Things was heartbreaking. Crown of Chains, heartbreaking. Do not even get me started on Haymitch. Sunrise on the Reaping, heartbreaking. And yeah, this one, it was like every chapter I'm reading and I'm like, no, not this person. Don't let this person die. Don't let this person die. And then like, it's just heartbreaking. If you don't know about Mistborn, this is the last book in the Mistborn series, and you follow several characters, but basically it started out as a thieving crew trying to overtake the world because conquer the evil ruler. First book, they do that. Second book, they release an evil being into the world accidentally. And in this book, they're trying to save the entire world from it destroying itself completely, both in spiritual and physical ways. Yeah, I was bawling. So yeah, it destroyed me. Absolutely love it. Highly recommend. I'm running out of space on my phone, so I'm going to end here. If you read any of these books or want to comment on them, drop a comment below. Thank you so much. If you made it in this video, drop me a little emoji for how you're doing with your reads for the year. And thank you again. Have a blessed day.